Let's talk about growth mindset. Do you know what I mean when I say growth mindset?
No.
Okay. So, growth mindset is enjoying challenges, it's enjoying learning and being curious, and it's enjoying being uncomfortable while going through those things. Do I ask you to do that when you do things, schoolwork or sports or video games?
Yeah.
And do you enjoy being uncomfortable?
No. Why would I think that?
I know. Yeah. So that's okay. That's okay. So the reason why, and I just talked to your sister about this earlier today.
What?
So when she's playing soccer, she gets thirsty. Like she's like, "Oh, I need some water." And when coach says, "Okay, you can have water in 1 minute," she stops trying. Okay, you did this in baseball. You do this in baseball. It doesn't help that you easily get distracted or bored, but and you do it when we practice. When I have you practice on your throwing, and I have you do it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and then you're like, I'm ready to go inside. You're getting uncomfortable and you're getting tired. Focus. We're talking. And you try to stop because you are now getting uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me why that is. Why is it that you want to stop when you get uncomfortable?
I don't feel well. I get uncomfortable.
Right, but when you say you don't feel well, tell me what that means. How do you not feel
It
well?
doesn't feel right.
What doesn't feel right?
It just doesn't feel right. That's it.
No, but try to explain it. It's okay. Try to explain what doesn't feel right. Think about it for a second and try to describe it.
Like when it happens, it's like I just feel really weird.
Okay. And do you know what that is?
No.
That's you forcing your body to do something it's not used to doing. Okay? So you get how if I don't know how to do something with my body today, let's talk about throwing. I'm trying to get you to throw the your arm a little higher. I want your elbow a little higher, and I want you to release the ball a little higher. You're not used to doing that. So if you are going to force your body to do something new, it's going to get uncomfortable, right? It's the same with learning with your brain. If you're trying to learn math, let's talk about algebra that you're going to start learning by the time you get through middle school. You don't know what, if I said x plus 2 equals 4, what is x? Think about it. X plus 2 equals 4.
It means times.
No, x plus 2 equals 4. No, normally an x means, yeah, this is where algebra gets confusing. No, hold on. Think about what I'm saying. X plus 2 equals 4. What is x? What number plus 2 equals 4?
2.
X is 2 in that equation. Let's try another one. Come here.
No.
See, this is what I mean. You're learning. Hold on. Nope. That's algebra.
No.
X plus 3 equals 6.
X plus 3. 3.
Correct. So you're solving for x. That's algebra. Okay.
I really want to go.
That's fine. I know you do because you're getting uncomfortable.
Let me go then.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go.
Hey, you wanted to be a part of this? You wanted to talk in the background.
I did not.
Yeah, you kept talking in the background.
Okay, bye.
Oh, okay.
Bye, Dad.
All right, good. We learned W. Hey everybody, it's JPC again, and this is episode number 18 of Back in My Day. This week we'll talk about developing a growth mindset, and this one's particularly fun for me because it's something that I learned about, I guess, the category of self-improvement with it a few years back, and have really tried to ingrain this in parts of my life, including work and fun and parenting, and then trying to ingrain it into my children as well. The intro at the beginning was me teaching little PC about getting uncomfortable and why it's okay. Caveats, I don't know what I'm talking about. I am clearly doing the things that I understood from what I read, and any caveats or, well, I guess any deviations from those things, the particulars, these are things that have worked for me. If I misunderstood them, they're still working. But there's also a long way to go to fully uh, realize, I guess, the benefits and specifics of having a growth mindset. I want to first talk about embracing challenges and being curious. So, embracing challenges is interesting to me. If I enjoy what I'm doing, I'm okay to be challenged by it. When I ran cross country and track in high school, I loved pushing myself to improve my time. I never ran against the other players, the other runners. I ran against myself. I ran against my times, and I was always trying to improve my times, either in practice or in the races that we would do. And I ran a sub 5 minute mile once, and it was something I did the first time on accident. My first real race, I just ran as hard as I could. Let me put an asterisk next to that. Somebody told me that the track might have been short compared to a normal track. I don't know if they were just trying to make me feel worse because I did so well, or if that's 100% true. I don't know. But I still own that, and I will always say that I ran a sub 5 minute mile. On other tracks, I ran a 15. I ran a 5:05. So I believe it was a legit one. But that being said, I was never able to get back to it, but it was always my goal to keep pushing myself to going there. So what I want to talk about with embracing challenges is feeling uncomfortable. And that you kind of heard me talk to little PC earlier about getting uncomfortable and figuring out how to make your body do something it's not used to, or how to make your brain do something it's not used to. And I really enjoy being uncomfortable in that aspect. I mean, like, rando dude giving me a shoulder massage, I don't like that kind of uncomfortable. That's weird. But pushing myself and figuring out how to change, use, I guess, the word metamorphosis. Maybe I'm probably using that. Anyway, I like the feeling of changing, of morphing into something new. And when I first played Valorant, when Coach was giving me, when Woohujin was giving me things to try, the first time I did the range drill where I was in the middle of the range, constantly moving, and the bots were spawning all around me. The first time that I did the strafing, air strafing jump on Haven outside B, I went into the range and I practiced those things. I went into a custom and I practiced those things, and my shoulder hurt the next day. And it's one of those things where I enjoy that. I enjoy that feeling of physically knowing that the effort did something. And when I learn, I guess, mentally and emotionally, when those things are learning, I do get exhausted and I do get fatigued. And that's fun for me as well to know that that's what it's related to. I'll throw in one additional note here. This is actually a conversation we're having with our youngest, with WePC. She plays soccer, and she will get to the point. Again, I think I mentioned this earlier. She'll get to the point where she's okay. I'm starting to get thirsty, and I'll tell Coach, "Hey, I'm thirsty." And Coach did this yesterday. Actually, he said, "You have 4 minutes left in the half. Just play it through." And then she started to lollygag because she was getting uncomfortable and she was feeling thirsty, and she felt like she deserved her drink. And um, that was a conversation that we have to have, and we're constantly having it with both kids, which is It's okay to be uncomfortable. Push through that comfort. You will be better for it most of the time, right? There is going to be scenarios where you need to stop because you're uncomfortable, but it's not because you're thirsty. Now, if you're thirsty for 24 hours, okay, we need to have a conversation about that. But you're thirsty for 5 minutes, you'll survive that. And pushing through that comfort and feeling that effort and coming through the other side of that effort and succeeding or not, coming through the other side of that effort, you feel better if you can turn around and correlate that to the benefit of it. You will be better for it usually. The other side of this, of embracing challenge, is the embracing the curiosity, and I want to bring that up because the mental aspect of learning, the emotional aspect of learning. I love context. I like to figure out where something came from or why something was done, and it's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons why it's so difficult for me to think about. What was I reading? Oh, it was when I see people who there's articles about somebody who has passed away, usually young, right? Oh my goodness, so and so's kid died. So and so actor died in their 40s or something, and it always says, right, rightfully so, because there's a respect that needs to be done, but it's the details of the death have not been released. My brain, and again, I don't think that I'm unique here, but my brain is immediately like, I really want to know what happened. I'd like to know uh, the context of the situation, and then whatever that is, even if they do kind of detail it, I want to know why. I want to know why. I want more. I want more. I want more. And I use that as an example because I think a lot of people want to know that, but there's this itch that I have to actively push down when there is something I really want to know. But when I'm trying to learn something, I'm trying to improve at something, I'm trying to figure something out, I let that itch just ride, and I'm going to tackle those things. I'm going to find out, I'm going to research it, and I'm going to try to find a correlation. I'm going to talk about something in a little bit called thinking like a scientist, which applies here, but I want to take an educated guess at what's happening in my development, and I want to essentially use that as a impetus to continue to develop it and to grow. Number two is learning from mistakes and proper goal setting in terms of growth mindset. So I'd start with the learning from mistakes, and this I kind of alluded to just now, but it's thinking like a scientist. So I brought this up in a previous podcast. So Adam Grant's Think Again is the book, and I'll put it in the description below. But he talks about all these different kind of ways people approach conversations and approach learning, even, which is like prosecutor, priest, and one other started with a P. Professor, yeah, professor, prosecutor, priest, if I remember correctly, and it's essentially like have a conversation, and I'm only doing it to purely learn the information. For example, like a professor, or I'm trying to point out mistakes, like a prosecutor, or I'm trying to I can't remember exactly the priest one. I want to say it's more like self-righteousness or whatever, which type of thing. Anyways, that kind of having those. I'm learning it to prove myself right versus learning it to improve my quality and things like that. So the thing, like a scientist, is the idea that I want there to be a mistake. I want to be wrong so that I can continue to learn. Because if I'm right, then that one piece is done. And enjoying having mistakes and enjoying getting things wrong um, is something I have not adopted. I know about it and I try to remember it, but I don't want to be wrong. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the idea that my hypothesis was incorrect. But when learning, so I'm doing this right now with my mech training in kovacs, and I'm doing the bean click 200%, I want to say it is, and I'm trying to get to 100. And I've hit 90 a couple times, which was my target. So I've hit my target, and I'm still doing it every day because I'd like to get to 100. And as I'm watching it, I'm trying to figure out. I'm watching my VODs. I'm trying to figure out how to get more points. Every time you hit an orb, you get a point. And Wahujin, for example, and I don't know other people outside of the people that are kind of on my list, but Wahujin's done 131 is his peak with like a 95% accuracy, 94% accuracy. At 95% accuracy, the best I've done is 93. So he has almost 30 more points with just a little bit less accuracy. And the only thing that I can come to with that is that he's more efficient with how he's moving from orb to orb. Got to hit the orb, you got to move to the next orb, you have to be efficient. And what I've been trying to do is when I flick to the orb that's moving away from me on the opposite side of the screen, I want to what I do now is I get really far in front of it and wait for it to get to me. I need to get efficient enough that I'm moving just barely in front of it to the point that I can immediately shoot instead of waiting. And that's the only way that I can fathom saving time from it. So I bring that up because I tried that and I'm not even hitting 80s now because I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to be more efficient, which is causing me to be less accurate. And now I have to find a middle ground, or I have to accept the fact that I'm not going to hit this target of 90 for a while I'm figuring out the efficiency piece, which is frustrating because I'm showing how I do over the course of my practice, and you can see my results are declining, but I'm explicitly doing something new. The other thing that I did with this is I'm asking Wahujin for a VOD of him doing the bean click and hitting above 100. I'd like to see the difference in that and exactly what he's doing and compare it to mine, which is something that I think a lot of people don't have immediate access to. So that gets a little bit difficult, but there are people in every community that can do the bean click and can do the thing you're trying to do, and you can ask them to show you a view. But I'm going to now go do additional research to figure out how to do this Kovaak'straining that has very little to do with Valorant, but I do want to improve it. And I want to get better at those things, and I have a hypothesis and I'm trying it out. And right now it's not working, but I think that I'm trying to find ways to disprove it versus prove my thoughts on it. So with that, anyway, the other side of this is setting goals. So redefining success, which I've talked about a number of times. My goal was 90. The moment I hit 90, I set my goal next to be 100 for this bean click, this exact example. I'm always looking to improve my target while ensuring that I'm defining success around those targets in a healthy way. So the reason I bring that up is while I'm targeting 100, I'm also recognizing that my actuals are going down. I'm hitting fewer orbs while I'm trying to improve it. So I'm having a hard time with this right now. I will keep doing it until I hit 90, but it also, in order for me to hit 90 right now, I have to stop doing the efficiency practice because I want to see that 90 on the target, on the scorecard, or that's 88 or above to show that I was able to hit it still. But then I'm reverting. So I'm actually having a really hard time with this specific process, redefining success. But when I play Valorant, I have no problem with that now. Ever since hitting Diamond, when I kind of go into a game, be it an in-house or we just did Premiere last night, I'm not trying to win. I want to win. That's important. I want to win. I absolutely want to win. I am trying my best because I would like to win. But I don't define success by winning or losing. I define success by an effort that I'm putting forward and whether or not I put that effort in, which I go back to the conversation with lilpc about soccer. I don't care if you score goals. I don't care if your team wins. I don't care if you play the best defense of your life. If you don't try hard the whole time, then we didn't have a good game. And It doesn't need to be like all out sweaty effort from her. What I want is when there's an opportunity to attack the ball, you attack the ball. When there's an opportunity to um, move back to the field, back down the field and play defense, that you're running back to play defense and help your team out, play for your team. And we're trying to instill that. When she first started playing soccer, she was fast enough that she could kind of kick the ball past everybody and outrun everyone and go score goals. And so she was scoring whatever 5-10 goals a game, and she was getting extremely excited about the scoring the goals. And we're like, yeah, good, that's fantastic. And we were defining success by um, scoring the goals, right? And I wouldn't say we weren't telling her that early on that she needed to score goals, but she was getting excited about it, so we were getting excited about it with her. And then slowly throughout the first season, when she would play harder teams, she would not try when the game was hard. And we're already starting to see that when the game is hard, she's not pushing herself and not trying as hard, right? She would rather play the easier opponents and the harder opponents, which makes sense. I'm 100% like, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing for a 6-year-old, but it is something we're trying to modify and change. And I think that I see this a lot in the Valorant community. The only time people complain about Smurfs is when they're on the other team and cause us to lose. We don't go into a game and go, ugh, there's a Smurf on my team. We're about to 13-0 these guys. The number of times, like, it's unbalanced. Okay, to be fair, I've heard people say that, but it's really unbalanced. The number of times people don't recognize that there's a Smurf on their team, or acknowledge it. You don't learn anything from that game either. Well, to be fair, you can still learn from both of those games, but you can't get better if every game you go into there's a Smurf on your team and you win the game without much effort. It's the same as having somebody boost you. And I go back to that. I think that's looking at the outcomes, the wins and the losses is the worst possible thing. I've said it 1,000 times. Wuhutin says it. I'm stealing it from him. I'm sure he got it from other people, right? He didn't come up with the idea that the outcome based metrics are poor to live by. But it is a common theme in the community, and I think it is very important. The other side of this I want to add is defining proper success. There's this video that I saw recently, and I'm sure thousands, millions of people have seen it. So, no, it's dopamine detox. It's a Tom Bilyeu. I'll put it in the description. But it's a conversation with Andrew Huberman about how we are defining our happiness, our dopamine spikes based off of the outcome of something as opposed to the effort of something. And I really, really like this. I'm glad I came across this. I don't actually know when this came out originally, but it goes into this very well. I'll put it in the description. I think it's a good watch for anyone who hasn't watched it or listened to it. But it's about effort, and if you can enjoy the effort, not the outcomes, then you will constantly be striving toward the correct trajectories versus just waiting for the outcomes and only being happy with the outcomes. And I think it's very important for learning something. You have to enjoy learning. You have to enjoy putting the work in. You have to enjoy the journey. And then the destination is the thing that you go, okay, sweet, I got there. What's next? And I did not feel that 100% honestly. I did not feel that with the Boomer to Diamond. I really, really enjoyed it from the silver and the gold and the early plat days. But the closer I was getting to Diamond, the more I was just looking at Diamond. And I just I was reaching for the outcome. And I stopped taking a moment, taking a step back and asking myself, what do I need to focus on? Hitting Diamond, there was this massive relief that came off my shoulders. And I want to get to Immortal. I absolutely want to push to Immortal, but I got to make sure my brain is in the right place, which is why I've kind of taken an additional break. And I'm trying to find the right ways to take the next steps. One of which is I'm gonna get a duo and I'm gonna play with somebody because I've started to enjoy that with in-houses. And I think that'll really make comp much more bearable to have somebody to grow with, right? So I'm trying to find the right partner. I'm trying to find somebody who wants to put in the effort the same way that I do, and I think I've found that, and we'll test it out. We're gonna do. We said we'll do a trial run um, for a month and see how it goes. So we're both on the same page, and I'm excited about it. Number 3 is seeking feedback and committing to lifelong learning. Seeking feedback is easy, and I think that Woohoojin's community is really built around that anyway. It's a learning community. And Woohoojin does VOD reviews every single day or almost every single day to help provide the feedback for people who are eligible to do so. I want to kind of caveat within that Woohoojin has a set of rules that are designed to help him, I guess, streamline the teachings that he's doing for the proper criteria. The reason that I bring that up is if somebody hasn't played in a week, you aren't going to be eligible to get a VOD review. And the reason for that is you have to play to get better. And so if you end up taking a vacation, that's fine. He's not saying that you can never be VOD reviewed, but you have to now play for 2 weeks and play 10 out of the next 14 days to now be eligible. He builds these criteria around the bare minimum, so he's not saying the same thing every week. Hey, you just need to play more. Hey, you just need to play more. Hey, you need to play more. He has the gold routine, so he can not have to tell low elo players, you guys just need to work on your mechs. Hey, next silver player, you need to work on your mechs. Hey, iron player, you need to work on your mechs. So he builds that criteria around not having to repeat himself, which benefits the community because he's set the guidelines. Just do these things. You have to have 300 hours or be diamond now, right? Outside of the little projects. I can't think of the proper word. The low elo shenanigans and the fun day Fridays and whatever. Tier 3 one-on-ones, right? Outside of kind of those, he has this defined. You need to have 300 hours or be diamond. And the reason for that is when he was coaching me, and again, I obviously had a little bit of a benefit with being in the boomer to diamond scenario, but the number of times he just said, you just need to play more. And he saw that throughout the series that I hit diamond within 200 hours. Yes, because I had Woohoojin to give me explicit direction, but also he gave me explicit direction in a very narrow, I'm going to say vague kind of perspective. And then I had to put the effort in. And we talked about it a couple of times that like I was a very, I'm not gonna say perfect. Obviously, I don't think I'm the perfect student, but I think maybe ideal was the word he used because my goal, like I love learning. I want to put the work in. I want to put the effort in. And if you tell me you go X Y Z, if you do X Y Z, you'll get APC. I will do X Y Z. I will 100% do X Y Z. And with that kind of mentality, he could literally direct me in very vague kind of fashions and let me kind of power through. And that's one of the reasons that I kind of set up this break that I've taken is because in order to go from diamond on up, there were things that I needed to accomplish. And I'll talk about that here now with the committing to lifelong learning. I'll talk about that a little bit and how why I created what I created with this next section. But the seeking feedback is very important, and he does these videos so people can go seek free feedback to their questions. There's also just everyone in the community. There's tons of people who want to help. So just finding the right community is super important to again the feedback that you need to find. I also want to add here before I move on, I've seen a number of times in the Discord or in DMs or in chats, stream chats, my friends make fun of me because they're higher elo than me. That is bullshit.
Yeah.
Drop those people. Those are not your friends. If they're doing it in a way that's playful, then I don't know why you're complaining about it. But if it's not playful, drop them. You're never going to get better if the people you seek feedback from are completely negative and cannot objectively offer you help besides get good or skill issue. That's very important. You need to understand that that is the only way to improve. Now, if you don't care, if you want your friends more than you want to get better at Valorant, sweet. Then shut up. I don't want to hear about it anymore. What's up, buddy?
You keep saying bad words.
Am I saying bad words?
Yes.
Oh, well, shit.
Can you stop saying?
Okay.
I still don't want to say it right now.
All right, deal. All right, don't say it. Okay, so the last thing is committing to lifelong learning. So I want to talk about. I keep saying it. I do it. I want to do X, Y, Z. What I've done is I recognize, and a lot of this is critical thinking. And I don't remember who said it. There was somebody I was talking to, and I was like, I didn't have a problem with that. And somebody else would bring something else, and I'll be like, no, I didn't have a problem with that. And somebody kind of pointed out, well, like you're old as balls, so you had a different upbringing than a lot of people these days. The instant feedback of the internet and the instant kind of, there's a word for it. I'm not saying it correctly, but I can type something in and I get the answer back. I didn't grow up with that, so I had to go seek things out, and I had to apply critical thinking to every single aspect of my life, because I didn't have a human Google that I could just get answers from. That's very narrow. That's a very myopic way of me of saying that. So just, I'm not trying to be extremely negative in that aspect, but I think that that's super important, that you find ways to take a moment and look for an answer versus just ask for an answer. Solve the problem yourself. Seek the answer to the problem yourself. Come up with a potential solution, come up with an idea, come up with a hypothesis, and then research that. And sometimes that just takes you, again, VOD review. And I think that the more that I see people in the Discord talk about how they did, I don't want to VOD review my own VODs, I'll have Wahujin do it. You're never going to grow if you can't get the information yourself first and then ask somebody, hey, this is my hypothesis, does this make sense, do you have any feedback on that? That's the way to seek information. Look first, try to solve, come up with a solution, and then try the solution, but also ask, hey, do you have an opinion on this solution from somebody who may know better? The fact that you put in the effort, oh man, look at that, effort is coming up once again. Put the work in, try to solve it, and then ask people to help you with your solution, not with your problem. I had a boss once that always said, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. And maybe those are the type of things that have helped me kind of mold my way through my 30s and 40s. Don't look for problems, look for solutions, and then ask for feedback on your solutions, not on your problems. Okay, before I end this, when I talk about the lifelong learning, so what I've done for the next phase, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to learn cipher prep while playing comp. I was going to need to dedicate time to learning my cipher prep and learning chamber prep, and then practice that prep. And when I took my vacation, when I took my additional break beyond my vacation, I was trying to figure out ways to develop that, and how do I give myself more time. There's a couple things that I'm doing, and I'm kind of ending this with how I'm trying to solve my time problem and the solution I came up with and the solution I'm trying. So there's a couple of things. I tend to start playing games at 8:30 p.m. my time, and I stream those. What that stream turns into is me playing past midnight often. When I play past midnight, I don't wake up before 7, but I almost always wake up before 8. So I have this window 7 to 8 that I'm waking up, and even on weekends. So if I'm going to bed at 1, for example, then I'm at minimum getting 6 hours of sleep and maximum getting 7 hours of sleep. I'm probably getting much less than 6 hours of sleep when this is happening. And because I can't immediately go to sleep, I'm trying to wind down. Anything that I didn't do before getting ready for bed or whatever, any nighttime routine, isn't accomplishing. So I'm getting less than 6 hours of sleep every night when this is happening. So the first thing I need to do is fix my sleep schedule. And I'm in the process of doing this. I've tried to do this before. I was able to do it for a short period, but then it just doesn't stick, right? So figuring out how to do something that's going to make things stick is going to be the trick. What this is going to turn into is me just shutting things down as soon as I'm done. So 11 or 11:30, and then trying to get to bed. My goal then to create more time is to shut down as quickly as I can and find ways to have my pre-bed routine, my nighttime routine, started before I stream. So what I would do is I would get ready for bed after streaming. Like I would get changed and I would do the things I need to do, brush my teeth, all of that after streaming. I'm now going to start doing that before I start streaming when the kids are doing it. So we all do it together. And then that also helps me because if I brush my teeth before and I do whatever before, I'm less likely to snack. So I'll have a habit of going in the kitchen and grabbing something late at night, which is also unhealthy in its own right, but I think everybody knows that. So I'm trying to commit to creating more time by getting to bed faster after streaming, but also I need to like stop streaming at a specific time between 11 and 11:30. I have to stop and then I can get to bed. My goal then is to start getting up at 6 a.m. or between 6 and 6:30. I have to figure that out and developing a morning routine. Which, having watched Huberman, he has a morning routine that I'm going to try out and see how it works. And I've been kind of doing it for about a week or so now, and so far I like it. But again, there's a longevity issue that I have. I'll try it, and then something will happen. I'll talk about that in a second, and create that morning. If I can get up at 6, then I'm giving myself an hour or so in the morning to do something more. Okay, so I'm talking about my daily and kind of how I'm creating more time daily, but in order for me to create time weekly to learn, specifically related to Valorant and improving to Immortal, I was playing 2 games a night every night. I'm going to shift that so that I'm only playing comp on specific days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe adding Sunday once my D&D campaign is done. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're focused on prep, practice. So in-houses is what I'm using the practice for. And then also pro VOD reviews and things like that. When I start playing comp again, I will use Sunday afternoons, which is when I'm doing this right now. I usually do my podcast on Sunday afternoons. When I'm doing that, the once I'm done with the podcast, I'm going to try to VOD review my comp games from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. VOD review some of them, and I may try to stream it. If not, I'll just record it or whatever. But that's what I'm going to use Sunday for that, so that I also am building in that VOD review process. So I'm shifting, and I'm going to play 10 comp games a week versus 2 comp games every day, and then I still get to play Valorant on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that are not specifically to comp. I get to play in houses. I get to have fun. I get to learn that side of things while still doing prep. And arguably, I've created some time to, let's call it an ecosystem of learning Valorant so that I can then apply it. And what has happened while playing in houses, which I've kind of done when I can instead of comp recently, is I feel much more confident on both Cypher and Chamber on all maps because I've gotten to take those reps without having to play comp. And I'm curious how that's going to translate whenever me and my duo start playing. So do that. So I kind of using this as an example of committing to lifelong learning. These are things that I do all the time. I want to do X. I don't have time for X. How do I create time for X? I have a family, I have kids, I have work. So I have 3 things that are required of my time that I do not get to displace for fun or pleasure or any of those things. I would be a terrible human being if I deprioritized any of those 3 things for pleasure. That being said, outside of those windows, I can choose to do what I want with my time, give or take things like, like I have to have my car inspected here coming up soon and get my renewal done. Right, I have to find those little pockets of things that are obligations that I'll prioritize. So I've actually like nerded out with my calendar and started listing out places where I want to do X, Y, or Z. And one of the reasons I want to create the morning situation, the 6 a.m., is because right now, Monday through Friday, I wake up and I go to work immediately. And there's this pocket of time before work where I could technically start doing something. I could technically be more productive if I went to bed at a proper time. And the reason that I bring that up is if I play past midnight, all I'm doing is playing. And there's no way from 8:30 to 1:30 that all of that time is absolutely productive and beneficial to some kind of improvement. It is I'm in a arguably a vegetative state, just kind of droning through video games. So I know I can carve that time out, put it in the morning, and actually be productive with it and power through additional things. I've started to create another blog that is more personal stuff, like the stories that I tell at the beginning of some of these podcasts, where I'm trying to write more stories. That's a want of mine. And by carving out time here and there, I've created little pockets where I can just sit down and write. And it's allowed me to continue to grow and to continue to develop myself and find that. So having the right environment is going to help you commit to learning and from the longevity of things. All right, I'll digress there. That's done. I'm done talking about it. I want to talk about this a little bit more because I really feel like I've been energized by doing this. Now I just need to do it. But we'll stop. We'll stop there. I'll do a recap real quick. Embracing challenges and curiosity. I think that the big takeaway here is you have to enjoy the challenge. You have to enjoy being uncomfortable. You have to find ways to make yourself uncomfortable and get curious about what to do and what you can do next and how you can keep growing. I think curiosity and effort go a long way in terms of pushing yourself through growth. Learning from mistakes and setting goals. I think that if you enjoy the uncomfort and enjoy the curiosity, I think you have to also figure out how to enjoy making mistakes and not consider them failures. I think setting up, redefining success around allowing yourself to make mistakes and allowing yourself to fail, because you can't grow if you don't fail, right? Nobody ever did something right the first time every single time in their life. You have to know that doing something incorrectly or inefficiently or without proper knowledge is going to always be beneficial. So enjoy making mistakes. Think like a scientist. Try to find the next hypothesis. Does this hypothesis make sense? No. Sweet. What don't I know? And how can I learn from it? And then the last thing again is just seeking feedback and committing to creating that learning environment, that learning culture for yourself, and that will help you propel and move forward. All right, that's it for this week. I appreciate everybody hanging out. This one's kind of a long one. Next week we will do teamwork. I kind of want to talk about, and I have a little bit of a story that's a little bit of a, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But teamwork. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Good luck in your games, and we'll see you next week.